For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Times, before the Empire.
If you remain the power of the dark side,
You may fire when ready.
I'll show you the dark side. We would be honored if you would join us.
Don't worry, Arthur. We're going.
Back it up, Buzzsaw. But what you have there.
I am a Jedi by my father.
Oh mate, just come back from the BFI IMAX. We've just seen The Last Jedi and we're sharing a mic because we're having fucking audio problems.
It's intimate.
It's really
but
fucking
it's
intimate today. But wow.
Blown away. Literally. That's the words I want to use. Blown away.
Well, what we're going to do is the first couple of minutes of this show, I think maybe the first 10 minutes, we'll try and keep completely spoiler free. I just want to say, if you are listening to this show and you haven't seen the film, you're bound to be disappointed even by the spoiler free segment. Something may get spoiled for you. We're going to do our best. So really, I think it's best if you don't listen to this episode until you've actually seen the film, because believe me, this film contains so many shocks, twists, turns, surprises. It's unlike any Star Wars film we've seen before or since.
I think I'd go as far as say it's a film with the most twists and turns I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not complicated.
No.
It's easy to follow. It's just full of surprises and joy. Just
Big time.
sheer unadulterated pure joy.
So how do you want to do this? How are we going to do this without being spoiled?
Well, let's start from the top. Your well, we can talk about the getting in there. Do you remember we went this morning to get our tickets?
Okay, yeah.
And I went to the machine to print out these tickets, which I paid for back in when? When was that? August? Maybe September?
Yeah, the day it got released.
Yeah. Go to the machine, go to print them out. Fuck all comes out the machine and it says, thank you for buying these tickets. We hope you enjoy the film. So I'm like, wait!
And up until that point, it was smooth running.
It was. I mean, we both came in by train. Both of the train lines we've been using have problems. So we got in really early because we thought we were going to be late or something. We went to Bill's for breakfast over in... it's just at the end of Waterloo Bridge. And... the lovely manager there got talking to us about Star Wars. Tom, yeah. And he basically said, don't worry about the pancakes and breakfast you've ordered. Just pay for the lattes and clear off. He literally gave us free breakfast because I think he was excited for us seeing the film.
He was a Star Wars fan.
Yeah. He's not had a chance to see it yet.
It was like we were in a Masons club, sort of a nod and a wink.
Yeah, definitely. It was. I felt really touched by that. So thank you very much for that, mate. We appreciate you helping us out.
People don't want to know what we had for breakfast. They want to know about the film.
That's right, yeah.
So we walked over the bridge, we got in there, and it was... The atmosphere in the room was... it was a nervous...
This is a lobby in the BFI, and it's like a big staircase going up to the actual screening room that's on the second floor.
We go and buy popcorn and whatnot.
Yeah, and we're standing there, and all of a sudden all these people start coming down the stairs, and they're coming out of a screening of The Last Jedi. And so... me and Jude's got headphones clamped to his head.
You went to the toilet.
Yeah, I came back and there's this crowd all huddled, all excited, smiling faces and whatever. So I plunged my fingers in my ears. And then we got into the auditorium, found our seats without any hiccups. Nobody's spoiled anything for us. And we just sat there waiting for it to start. And we're right in the middle. This is Jude's first experience at the IMAX, by the way. What do you think of that?
It was... pretty amazing. I mean,
it's better than normal 3D, isn't it?
Oh, it's
way better because the picture's completely it's curved around you almost. So
it's designed deliberately, right? So that has a massive impact on everything, on your spatial awareness, on your glasses, even.
Yeah,
and you are just fully immersed in this sensation. So it was absolutely perfect. But when that Star Wars logo first hit, oh man, it was electric in that room. Yeah. You could just hear everyone smile.
Yeah. Well, when it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, you can just hear people squealing with giggling and stuff with excitement. Yeah. And then the text comes, and it's like we've been speculating on what that text could be. Jude guessed the first line. We won't say what the first line was, but Jude guessed it right. Not on the show. He guessed it this morning when we were having breakfast. He got that completely right. And then the film started, and we were just completely surprised by the first opening scene. I think it completely was unexpected, the way that it rolled itself out. The film very much does pick up from where it left off, I'd say. Ish. But slightly different place, different part of the galaxy at that same time. So it's a really interesting film. That like I say, the storyline is very clever. There's so many intricate.
It's genius.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, there was a points in this film I was thinking, right, I'm going to just take the emotion out. I'm going to just try and be a bit more critical.
Yeah, me too. I totally went in like that. Yeah.
This isn't an emotional reaction. It's an unbelievable film in its own right. It takes Star Wars and the logo out of the equation. It's an unbelievable film.
It brings in new ideas that we've never seen before in a Star Wars film.
It's changed Star Wars forever.
Mainly to do with the Force and the nature of the Force, I suppose. And it's stuff that I wish we could have seen that in the original trilogy, but now this new trilogy is showing us this extra stuff, and it's honestly wonderful. It's not bad. I love what they're doing. Disney are doing a great job. The performances in this film were easily better than they were in The Force Awakens from everybody.
Much better.
Although the first I think for the first half hour of the film, I did feel Daisy Ridley's dialogue was a little bit wooden, but as the film progressed, As
the film progressed, she was fantastic.
Domhnall Gleeson,
much better performance.
Much more better performance, less over the top, because he's a bit cartoony in The Force Awakens. This time around, he seems to be more in control and less
he's surrounded by older, more experienced personnel.
Yeah.
Both
one of
both
which
men and women.
One of which is played by Adrian Edmondson from Bottom.
Which is basically me.
Yeah, which is you. Yeah. And I'd actually remember hearing a rumour that he was going to be in the film, and I completely forgot about that. And I saw him, and I was like, oh, he's playing an Imperial officer. I don't think that's a spoiler. So,
no.
But he's got a small role in the film, I suppose.
Yeah. So and I think, look, we've been going for 7 minutes now. We got 2 minutes left. Bit longer.
Okay.
I want to get into spoilers.
I know.
Well, what we got out of 5? What would you give it?
Oh. It's very difficult not to be biased and everything, given I've just seen it. It's easily a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Whether it's a 5, it will have to depend on further viewing. Does it have the rewatchability that a film like Empire does? Empire is one of those films I could watch every day and never get bored of it. I don't know if Last Jedi is, but it's a very different film to any Star Wars film we've ever seen before.
It's certainly a 4.5 for me. There's a few things that niggle me, and I think there's a few things that are superfluous.
There are 3 swear words in this film, and hearing swear words in a Star Wars film is really unusual, isn't it? It's such a...
Well, it gives it some realness to it.
The words were... I'll tell you what the words were, because without any plot, it doesn't really matter. They were bloody, bastards, and arse. So I was a bit surprised. Obviously, we effing blind like a pair of Irish drunks, but no offense to our Irish drunk listeners, but we love a swear word, but it was quite strange hearing swear words being used
willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly. What did you think of Mark Hamill's performance? Because that was something we never saw in The Force Awakens.
It was I think it started slow, if I'm honest. But by the time we got to the end, woof.
There's lots of moments in the movie where the emotion overwhelms you, really. Characters seeing each other again for the first time and things like that.
That might be a spoiler.
No, that's absolutely fine. Okay. I mean, the various characters reunite in this film. So, it's... that kind of stuff gets you a bit choked up, I suppose. Really, what overwhelmed
The guy next to me was crying.
Really?
He was not.
There was bits where my eyes definitely watered up.
Yeah.
Welled up. But I don't think I was blubbing at any point.
That's so much more emotional than Han Solo.
It's not a
dying.
sad film. It's not a sad movie at all.
Oh
I
no,
don't
but
think.
it's
It's got a beautiful amount of emotion and heart in it. The cinematography is incredible. The way that it's edited is beautiful. You can see
gotta say
everything
this.
in crystal clear detail.
It took me back to being a boy.
Oh yeah, that's the sign of a great Star Wars film, isn't
It took
it?
me back to watching the original trilogy for
Ah.
the first time. The Force Awakens reintroduced me to
Yeah.
it, but it didn't take me back. This had me feeling like there was a scene, and we'll talk about it in a minute, of about 3 minutes where I believed I was watching Empire Strikes Back.
Right. Okay.
You know the scene I'm talking about.
Maybe. There's a few scenes that reference The Empire Strikes Back, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. There's a couple of scenes that there are definite nods to things we've seen before, and there was even a little nod to Jurassic Park. See if you can spot that Easter egg. But there was, some of the performances that surprised me in this film were Laura Dern as Vice Admiral Holdo.
She was very good.
We didn't really know much about her, and I was very impressed with her performance. Carrie Fisher, we did say I said some pretty cruel stuff about her performance in The Force Awakens, but my God, in this film,
one,
she's really the Princess Leia we always wanted to see.
She was
The leader,
funny. She was
strong.
She was confident. She was beautiful. She was everything that we needed from our Princess Leia.
Yeah, and then the heroes in this movie, Rey, Finn, Poe, whatever. You really get behind them. You really feel
You believe in them.
you get this enormous feeling of hope throughout the film. And given everybody thought this was going to be an Empire Strikes Back remake, with a couple of small callbacks in places,
It really isn't.
it really isn't. It's a completely fresh film, and the tone of it is nowhere near as dark as we were expecting it to be. I think it's a much more balanced movie, and it's just to compare it to The Empire Strikes Back, they're so different. They are really two different films. So all these naysayers that think it's just going to be a remake of
You can't
Empire Strikes
compare
Back, it really isn't.
But honestly,
and I am
it's
terrified.
So well done.
Yeah,
It stands on its own two legs.
yeah, or four legs.
Or four legs. If you're going to think of Star Wars and the 8 films that have come out, and are we excluding Rogue One?
Yeah.
We're talking
Yeah.
like the trilogies. It's going to be this and Empire. I think on a par. On a par.
It was
For
original
twists,
and brave
original,
and interesting and exciting that it did feel like it was something really that stood out.
They weren't just going through the motions. It was
No.
a real effort.
That storyline could not predict it at all. I mean, even the order of the scenes that we see in the trailer, you could not guess the order of all those clips, how they come. It's completely bonkers. The storyline is epic. It's this 2 hour 20-minute movie.
He uses the idea of the Force in such a way.
This is Ryan Johnson.
That he
Ryan
can
Johnson.
do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
with the
and I've got to say, I'm actually really worried now because J.J. Abrams has to pick up the 9th instalment of the series and conclude that, and I really don't see how you can compare that, because the film felt so much more serious than The Force Awakens did, the J.J. bromance type thing and the comedy and stuff. Although there was plenty of healthy comedy in this film, it was a lot more subtle than it was in The Force Awakens, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's a real serious.
And also the reliance on nostalgia. Really, this film doesn't do all that
Doesn't
shit.
need it.
Doesn't do it. Doesn't have any
Doesn't need
callbacks or
There
apart
was
from a couple of
there was
nods.
2 massive callbacks, but
Yeah.
I felt it was.
But it wasn't a
needed.
retelling. It wasn't like
needed.
JJ playing with toys like
So
it wasn't.
look, I mean that's episode 9. We've got 2 years to talk. about that.
So should we go into spoiler territory
Right,
now?
this is your warning.
Okay, guys. So this is the point where you turn off. The good news is that Jude and I come out there with 2 thumbs up, and one of my thumbs is up Jude's arsehole, actually.
Oh, mate, come on.
Yeah, that's all you're going to hear. There'll be now a little gap. You can turn your iPods off now. Ready? Spoilers! Cool.
Right. When do we start?
Should we talk about the storyline of the film?
Yeah, let's go.
So we anticipated that it would begin with the Jedi Temple being destroyed. Well, that was my prediction last week. We were wrong.
In a few scenes later.
There are scenes of flashbacks that explain it, but they're done really well. It's unusual seeing flashbacks in Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, it starts with the First Order hitting the resistance base.
Yeah, so they're literally arriving in the orbit above the planet we saw from the previous movie, and everyone's literally packing up, ready to go.
Yeah.
And then these Star Destroyers just appear in the sky.
Yeah. And Poe's on a suicide mission, basically.
Yeah.
Because the dreadnought comes in.
This is the new Star Destroyer. It's a very, very
huge.
long, like a big slice of pizza with two enormous cannons below it, and it's designed to destroy, whole chunks of planets. A bit like the Death Star, but merged into a Star Destroyer. Anyway, so Poe Dameron goes on this ridiculous suicide mission.
He takes out all the turrets.
Yeah.
BB-8 punches that booster. He gets through. He manages to hit a hole in the
dreadnought.
Yeah, in the dreadnought. Then the bombers come in, don't they?
Yeah. So
and
the
they
resistance
all get blown up at bar one.
Yeah. And by the way, leading the attack on this planet is General Hux.
Yeah.
General Hux is really I think. Well, he has this kind of communique, doesn't he? He has a communique with Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of comedy there. It's like
quite funny, yeah.
Poe's not taking him seriously, pretending he can't hear him. He's basically there to pass on a message.
He's trying to stall.
And he says, "What is it?" He says, "I've got a message to you about your mother."
Yeah,
and
about
it's
your mum.
literally, I mean, it's like we ran in and changed the script.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
They didn't spot it. It's like Leia's got a message for General Hux. What is it? It's about your mum. And then that was it.
Yeah, and then he basically starts this crazy suicide mission against this massive Star Destroyer, like, Darth Vader-sized Star Destroyer.
And then we saw A-Wings coming in, sort of led by, I don't know what her name is, some female pilot, and she was like...
Tally, I think her name is. But I keep seeing this thing on my game called Tally's A-Wing.
She was like some hot shot, just taking it out, making sure these bombers got through. Mm-hmm. One bomber survives... And Rose's sister.
Well, basically, there's an accident in that one of the bombers gets exploded.
Yeah.
And it causes a chain reaction, takes out all the others. By the way, and we forgot to mention that all of this is going on against Leia's wishes.
Yeah.
Poe Dameron's taking matters into his own hands, and he's basically being a vigilante, isn't he? He's basically overriding her authority and causing all kinds of problems for Leia. And that's a reoccurring theme in the movie, actually, isn't it?
I'd say Poe's he's got the potential to be a leader.
Yeah.
He's got a potential to be a commander, but he's just not got the
wisdom.
maturity.
He doesn't have the wisdom.
He doesn't have the experience or the wisdom or the maturity.
Yeah.
And he just goes in there gun ho.
Yeah.
And he just wants to blow everything up.
Yeah, definitely. He's a hothead. He's a hothead pilot, as he's called.
And
in the
Leia he gets slapped.
He gets a bloody good slap in the face.
A few times. He gets slapped by Leia a few times, but he needed it, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the bomber drops its bombs and takes the dreadnought out, and then they all escape to hyperspace.
Yeah, that's right. And it's great seeing like a massive Star Destroyer arriving like that, and then just being destroyed, and then.
So you're thinking, yes, the resistance is winning.
They've got off into distance. Yeah, they've evacuated the planet. Everything's cool.
A transmission comes through from Snoke.
Yeah, to Hux.
To Hux.
Hux is there with egg all over his face.
Says, I'll take it in my private chambers.
Yeah.
And then...
Snoke uses the Force to slam him onto the floor, giving him a bloody big nosebleed. Yeah. And basically says, like, come and see me at once, you failed me, all this kind of stuff. It's really humiliating for Hux. And he gets I thought that's it. He's going to be killed right here and now.
And then it cuts to sort of the resistance, and Finn wakes up.
That's right. This is aboard basically the equivalent of a Mon Calamari cruiser, isn't it? The new version of that.
Yeah. And then Poe's just getting out of his X-wing, and he's like, "What do you mean, Finn's naked walking around.
Yeah.
So Finn's like walking around naked with all this water hanging off of him.
He's got this He's got this kind of suit on that's full of water
Yeah.
or Bacter or something, and it's like
Yeah.
leaking, spraying water
Yeah.
everywhere while he's walking around. He's walking around in a daze.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on. He's just woken up.
So that's what's happened there, and then it cuts back to
The island.
Ray
Yeah.
and Luke.
And it's literally where we saw them last.
Yeah.
She passes him the lightsaber. He goes to say something, and then he just tosses it over his shoulder and walks off
Yeah.
without talking to her. And it's like,
What?
what the fuck?
Yeah.
What? It was not what I was expecting. I was expecting, like, where did you find this? Who are you? Oh my god. He literally kind of susses it all out and says, I'm through
out.
with this shit.
I'm
I'm
out."
through with this shit. Yeah.
And she gets frustrated, and she just ends up.
He storms off and locks himself in a little hut.
She follows him, and she sleeps
Yeah.
outside, and she's like knocking on the door. And
Master
there's
Skywalker.
and there's just like
Master
this
Skywalker.
sequence of him just going around doing his day to day, which is like,
Well,
he goes fishing.
Chewie bursts in.
Well, he goes fishing first, doesn't he?
Didn't he? No, I think Chewie bursts in first. And then
He
Han
says-
realises...
he says-
Sorry, he realises that Chewie's alone.
Yeah.
And he says, "Where's Han?" And then that cuts.
Yeah.
So it's kind of in the off camera they fill each other in with the story so far, I suppose. Yeah.
So
I
Luke's
don't think
up
we
to
could go
speed.
through this film scene by scene because I could not remember it all.
Well, I pretty much can, I think. But there's
I don't think we should because it's not interesting
Okay.
enough.
Well, there's a few scenes we should pick out then. So
Yeah. Oh.
So basically,
Well, should we talk about Kylo Ren and what's happened since the last film?
let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. So, one of our what we really wanted to see was what does Snoke want to do with Kylo Ren after this? So, and you see them. Kylo Ren enters Snoke's throne room, which is this glorious, enormous. It's similar to the. It's a very minimal version of what the Emperor has, I suppose.
On the on the second Death
Yeah,
Star.
on the second Death Star. This is on
Very red.
a really wide Star Destroyer. It's almost like a an old bomber.
Yeah.
An old bomber plane or something. It's like a big boomerang.
Yeah.
You know, and that's Snoke's huge Star Destroyer, and he dismisses Hux, who is very grovelly, and
Yeah.
it seems that they've repaired their relationship.
Well,
Snoke and Hux.
because they repaired the relationship because even though the resistance
Has got away.
has got away, they can track them through hyperspace.
That's right. So there's this new
there's
ability that
and
they've got.
I've just mentioned the resistance again. The best thing about that name is that they're starting to lose it. They're going back to being called the Rebellion.
Yeah, and they're being chased. I mean, they are literally, the numbers have dwindled.
Literally down to
They're
40.
down to 4 or 5 large ships, and that's
Yeah.
all that's left of them. And over the course of the movie, you just see these ships being blown up, and
Yeah.
it's like there's less people now,
Yeah.
now, and you really get a feeling for their struggle and the scale that they're up against. They really bit off more than they could chew when they attacked the First Order.
The rebellion's back. The resistance is dead. The rebellion's back, and you
Very
really
much so.
You really fear it.
Yeah.
So
Snoke,
Kylo Ren comes in. He goes to see Snoke, and
Bows
you
before him
really
and all
just
that.
think, man, Snoke just doesn't have any time for you. He's got no. He failed.
he's
him.
very disappointed.
Um,
He says something like, the first thing he says is like, "How's your wound?"
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's actually
Like, says,
compassionate.
take that
Yeah,
pathetic mask.
and then
off
as
your face.
Kylo Ren's talking and we can't understand what he's saying, he literally, because it's so muffled, you know, like that. He says, "Take that pathetic thing off your face,"
Yeah.
and he starts sort of like, he starts sort of taking the piss out of him and mocking him for being like this wannabe Darth Vader.
Yeah, he's like,
Says
you're
you're just
be
a
Vader.
child in a mask,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you had so much potential when I found you, and you're just all the bloodline and everything, all your rightful heir to all this, and you're just a
Do you
failure.
know what I
You're-
love about it? It makes
Snoke
Vader-
was a great character.
It makes. It was. It makes. It makes Vader.
Spoilers.
It makes Vader so big. When they start talking about him like that, you have flashbacks of Vader. And you realise how powerful the guy was.
Yeah,
Like he was just insane.
he's got all this expectation on him to be this great thing for his. Anyway, Snoke and him have like a face-off. Snoke antagonises him and gets him really cross. And then
You
Kylo
start to-
goes to actually attack him,
Yeah.
doesn't he? And at that moment, all of Snoke's guards come in. Snoke sort of freezes him temporarily, and it's very clear that Snoke has these incredible powers, and he's guarded by these 10 guys, all in armor with various different variations of weapons.
Do you think Snoke's more powerful than the Emperor and Vader?
Yes, through the course of the movie, he demonstrated stuff I've never seen before in a Star Wars movie. And he didn't do all the cliches.
No.
There's no Force lightning in this film.
There was one bit of Force lightning. It was a quick flick.
I didn't see that.
It took Rey out with a tiny little flick of Force lightning.
Okay, right.
But they basically were going to have a fight. But how did he stop Kylo? I can't remember.
I think the Praetorian Guards, whatever they're called, they all basically threatened him. He backed out. And as he's sulking off in the lift,
he smashes his...
He decides he's going to smash the shit out of his helmet.
At that point, I'm going...
And he gets out of the lift and he says to these officers who open the door, very startled to see him, and this pile of smashed walls and stuff, he literally says, "Get my ship ready." So he's off to go and do something.
So at this point, you kind of feel a bit sorry for him, and you kind of start thinking, I'm on your side a little bit here.
Yeah.
And then
you get a very strong feeling that Kylo is really turning back to the good side.
And then we cut to Rey and Luke. And at this point, Luke's pissing me off because he's not listening.
Yeah, Luke's being a mopey, grumpy man. He's going around digging fish out of the water.
I didn't feel frustrated for Rey. I was annoyed at Rey because she's just like... I don't know why I was feeling a little bit annoyed about her.
Yeah.
Because she was just a little bit... her powers weren't as powerful as it kind of came across in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, totally.
It didn't feel like she was using her full potential.
No.
And then there's a scene where he starts to train her. He teaches her free
he begrudgingly agrees to train her after explaining to her the reason why he... what happened, basically, and the reason why he won't do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, he tells this story about what happened.
Tell the story. So.
Well, from Luke Skywalker's perspective, Luke Skywalker sensed that Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo, as he's known, had so much darkness in him, and Luke was really worried. So he confronts him one night while he's sleeping. And
this is all flashback.
This is all in flashback.
The best thing about that flashback is sort of middle-aged Luke, not old.
No.
Is sort of like, what, 40 odd?
Yeah.
Got a black beard.
Yeah.
Green lightsaber comes out.
Yeah, it's about 20 years. He's got like brown hair and a brown beard and stuff. This flashback of Luke being overwhelmed by Kylo Ren. Their lightsabers are clashing. Not Kylo Ren, sorry, Ben Solo. And all the walls behind them are crumbling and stuff. It's like a kind of flashback from Ben Solo's eyes, you know, of him overcoming his uncle and overthrowing him, basically. Luke then wakes up in all this rubble, and when he comes out, he finds his temple, everything he's built has been destroyed, all his students are gone, and the ones that he does mention that a couple went with Ben Solo / Kylo Ren, and it was Snoke who seduced him, basically convinced him to turn on his master, everything like that. So that was really interesting. But then it turns out
well, it's all perspective. It's all perspective from a certain point of view, and that's it.
We should probably talk about the new ability that's been introduced now. At this point.
So they can just start to talk to each other from light years away. Yeah.
So there's lots of moments where Rey stops and turns, and she can actually see Kylo Ren.
Skype call through the Force.
Yeah, she can see Kylo Ren standing where she is. But she can't see his. She can see his surroundings, but he can't see her surroundings. But he can see her.
Yeah.
So they're literally. It's like they're in the same room.
Yeah.
And they can see each other. They can talk, and then it kind of disappears. And he keeps on coming at her. He's like a persistent boyfriend that won't fuck off. He just keeps on ringing her. You know, not ringing her, but getting into her head. In one scene, he confronts her in some rain.
Yeah.
And then back on his Star Destroyer, after he's had a conversation, he actually touches himself and he's got water on him.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if he's being pulled.
It's just like the Force is manifesting itself into real tangible
it's literally turning him into a physical object somewhere else in the galaxy and then back again, which is really interesting.
Well, it turns out that was Snoke. So it was Snoke manipulating.
Yes, it does. But I was going to say, before that, we hear Ben's story of what happened.
You're calling him Ben now.
I'm calling him Ben / Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
I don't really know. Kylo Ben.
Kylo Ben, yeah.
We hear his story, and his story is slightly different. He's fast asleep in the Jedi, in his little bed or whatever. He hears a lightsaber go on. He wakes up. His uncle, Luke Skywalker, is standing above him, teeth bared, eyes fucking furious with anger. He's got this lightsaber. He's about to kill him. And Ben grabs the lightsaber with the Force, drags it to his hand, and then defends himself.
Yeah.
So he's about to be murdered in his sleep by his uncle.
Yeah.
He says his uncle wanted to kill him because he could feel this darkness growing and conflict inside him, and he wanted to get him out of the way, which Luke then admits is the case.
Yeah.
He did do that.
Yeah.
So it's really unusual seeing that darkness in Luke.
It goes back to that. He used anger against Vader.
He does. He overcomes Vader with anger, right?
So there's always that darkness in Luke, always.
Yeah.
But it comes out in that storyline.
Yeah.
So there's a bit where I'm going, well, is Luke bad now? I'm going, is Luke the bad guy? So anyway, Kylo Ren takes out his mum. Well, the two TIE fighters take his mum out in the scene where... Can we talk about the scene where he flies towards...
Yeah, so Kylo Ren is leading an attack on the Resistance. He seems to be specifically hunting down his mother.
Yeah, this is all out of sequence now. We're just like picking out scenes.
Yeah,
they blow that ship up. Leia gets flung out into space.
Kylo Ren doesn't do it though. He's about to shoot her.
And
he
he
resists,
doesn't do it.
and then two of his co-pilots do it instead.
And we think,
Leia literally gets the whole deck gets destroyed, and Leia gets sucked out.
I was like,
into
man,
orbit.
That's a cheap shot. That's a cheap shot of how to kill Leia off there.
Oh, totally.
I'm
stunned. And this was only about half an hour into the movie.
And then you don't see her again. And then all of a sudden, from a distance, you start to pan over the battle.
The debris in space.
And then you see this silhouette in the sun, and it's Leia, and she's floating. And then you see her blink slightly, and her fingers start to unfold. And then she uses the Force
to drag herself back into the ship that she got blown away from, where she is immediately rescued.
Yeah.
She's all covered in like frost where she's been in space. Yeah. So I don't know how long she's in space. I looked at you and you looked at me after that, and we both gave us
It was a weird moment.
It was a very unusual moment. I mean, in the Star Wars games and the expanded universe, there have been moments where people have jumped from ship to ship in orbit.
Yeah.
But they've usually done it with some sort of breathing apparatus.
Yeah.
This was so unlike anything before. After that, she's kind of put into emergency,
and you don't see it for a while.
Yeah, she's kind of laying in a bed with like a special kind of globe thing over her head to keep her safe or monitor her health or whatever.
Yeah.
But she pulls through. She pulls through really quickly.
And then Holdo, because she's out, Captain Holdo, or whatever.
Vice Admiral Holdo, played by Laura Dern.
She comes in, and you think, I don't like her. She's clearly in league with the First Order.
How wrong we were.
She's not.
We totally mispredicted her character.
We just... do you know what? It goes to show.
She's just an incredibly strong...
Well, she was just playing things by the book and playing things safely to save lives.
Yeah.
Turns out you can't win everything with crazy gun-ho fire.
Poe's butting heads with her.
Yeah, and Poe's wrong.
And we're all on Poe's side, of course. As you're watching this, you're kind of like rooting for Poe. This silly woman's coming and she's doing all this stuff. What does she know and whatever? Turns out she's actually way more smarter and wiser than you anticipate. Yeah, all of them. She's actually got everybody's safety in
her heart. Right?
Yeah, and she's willing to give her life to protect these people.
So then it turns out, Poe then turns his gun on her and he says, right, you lot, you're going to stay here and I'm going to take the ship
Yeah, she's
over.
pretty much saying, getting him off my ship, him off my deck, lock him up type of thing. He's being disruptive now, you know.
So then Holdo manages to take over again outside of the flight deck. And then the door gets blown open and Leia walks through. You think, oh, hello. And then she shoots Poe with a stun gun.
Yeah.
And it takes out.
Meanwhile, Finn has met this girl called Rose, whose sister was killed earlier in the film in the bombers. he and her go on this mission to
Canto Bite
to find a code breaker.
What a pointless that whole scene should have just not been in
The reason why they find the code breaker is they need somebody to get on board a Death Star and cause like a kind of not Death Star, sorry, get onto Snoke's Star Destroyer and cause a like explosion inside it, which will blow the thing up, a bit like a reactor explosion.
I just felt
the Canto Bite sequence
didn't need to be there. It didn't need to be casino. It didn't need to be those racehorse things.
It was brief, thankfully, but it was probably the part of the film that I cared less about most of all.
And DJ turned out to be completely insignificant.
Well, what were you fucking expecting, though, mate?
Well,
it was just a supporting role. I mean, I wasn't expecting this guy to become the new poster boy for Star Wars.
I was expecting...
No!
I don't know. I was expecting a Lando Calrissian sort of vibe, but...
Not at all. This guy is literally a... he's a bit like a kind of Han Solo type carefree... Rogue, a thief. They find him in a jail cell. They should have fucking left him there, to be honest. The guy can't be trusted.
No, but he gets them out and they escape, and they take him with him, and they think he's going to break in. He's going to help us break into Snoke's thing. We're going to be able to release this new piece of technology of tracking us through hyperspace, and then we'll escape and we'll win.
Yeah, there are while they're on Canto Blight, they see this kind of. It's like horse racing going on.
And these kids
are looking after these kind of large horsey type creatures. And it's very cruel, the animals being whipped and whatever by their masters. And the kids are being whipped. And sort of like... it's a bit like Oliver in the workhouses, And it reminded me of Rey when she was young, I suppose. And how her relationship to Unkar Plutt. So that was interesting to see that. And that does come back later in the film. We'll talk about that later. But then back to the situation between Rey and
Luke.
No, Kylo Ren intensifies.
So
their communication becomes more and more
tangible. They touch hands.
They start to talk. They actually, in one scene, touch hands through reaching through the Force to touch hands with each other
from light years away.
And then Luke walks in and finds Rey literally reaching over and holding hands with Kylo Ren, who had joined the Force, and he kind of
blows the top off
the room they're in. Rey confronts him, and they actually have a little bit of a fight, don't they? Rey uses her stick and to try and attack him.
Luke uses the Force to rip out this sort of aerial thing.
Yeah.
And they have like a stick fight.
Yes, that's correct.
It's quite good. And then Rey uses the Force to grab the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Ignites it.
She threatens him with a lightsaber and he backs down.
Yeah.
He calms down and he basically admits that he did try and kill
Kylo
Ren. And she says, "That's it. If you won't help me, I'm going to go alone." So she leaves the island with Chewie.
Well, there's a weird bit in the film where she goes down this dark hole.
Oh yeah.
And
so there's a part of the island where Luke makes her meditate, and she can feel the cold of the sea and the warmth of the sun and the grass and also the death and the bones and stuff on the ocean. And then she finds this like hole. It's like a kind of hole covered in seaweed.
It's kind of like the cave.
It's very much like the cave in Dagobah.
If you go to the cave in Dagobah, Luke sees...
It's a place strong with a dark place. It's the dark side.
Well, you see Luke confronting Vader in the cave in Dagobah. Knocks his head off. Mask explodes. Luke's face staring back at him.
Yeah. It's a similar sequence.
But you don't get any reveal. So she goes up to this mirror crystal thing.
It's like a wall of glass.
200 rays.
This is a reflection of her going through infinity.
She asks, "Who are my parents, please?"
Well, I want to see my parents, she says, doesn't she?
Yeah, and then this figure comes towards her, and you think, "Oh, they're going to reveal," and then it just turns out to be her staring back at her.
Yeah,
and it was odd.
It was a weird scene, and she later then explains this to Luke, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Or to herself. No, she's talking to Kylo Ren. She doesn't go to Luke with this information.
I think Kylo Ren's talking crap.
She literally goes to Kylo Ren with this information and says, like, I've never felt so alone and whatever. So she's confiding in Kylo Ren, who, at the beginning of the film, she's kind of calling him a monster, you killed your father, all this kind of stuff. And then by the end, they kind of become both neutral, whether it's almost like a kind of they're falling in love almost. It's a really beautiful friendship they're starting to, or not a friendship really, but it's kind of like we're both special, we're both the same. We need to do something together. So
she flies off with Chewie
basically
on the
agrees to go
Millennium
and
Falcon.
find Kylo Ren and surrender to him.
Yeah.
Which she does. Chewie literally drops her off in space in a little life pod, which we've never seen before in the Falcon. She's intercepted by the First Order and taken aboard, and she's brought before Snoke by Kylo Ren in the lift.
And
there's
Snoke's
a lovely
like,
moment where
well done, you've redeemed yourself.
when the lift going up, there's a lovely moment which is reminiscent of Vader and Luke in Return of the Jedi before they meet the Emperor. It's basically her saying, "I can feel the conflict in you, Ben."
She calls him Ben.
She goes, you will turn and help me and whatever." And he's going, "No, it's you that's going to turn and whatever. You'll understand at the right moment. You'll understand." So they have this face-off with Snoke. This is only about an hour and 20 minutes into the film, and it's kind of like, wow, we're being brought before the equivalent of the Emperor now. Very exciting. And
he is powerful.
Yeah, Snoke really demonstrates how amazing he is with the Force here.
And he's just like flicking his fingers, and she's just going flying.
She drags her lightsaber from his chair, very much like Luke Skywalker does in Return of the Jedi. It doesn't go to her hand, it goes right round the room and then smacks her in the side of the head. And then it goes straight back to his chair, obedient, and he's like got complete control. They're putty in his hands. Yeah. These guys, the Kylo Ren and Kylo Ren's kneeling there, before his master. He's brought her before. He goes, "Come closer, my love," and whatever. He's really kind of seductive in how he talks and whatever. Come closer and everything. And she refuses, and he literally drags her closer with the Force. It's pretty.
And then he's torturing her, and you can see her looking at Ben at this point. I'm going to call him Ben at this point, and you can see him going, "I want to help her. I want to help her." And then
he basically asks Kylo Ren,
and then it cuts back back to Luke.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Now, before we get into that bit, because that's a massive bit, it gets to this bit where a Force Ghost turns up.
Yeah, well, Luke's on his island, and he is about to burn down this tree, which we haven't talked about. There is a tree with books in. It's all that remains of the Jedi history.
Yeah.
It's like 7 books, and they're literally ancient scripts from thousands of generations ago. Where Luke got them, we'll never know. He's about to burn it down. And then this little ghost of Yoda appears.
Oh man, I'll tell you
what. And
what.
it's a fully working puppet. It looks very similar to it does in The Empire Strikes Back. A little bit fatter, a little bit greener, but
it was amazing.
It's a real puppet with all the emotions, with all the kind of like tutting, the way it sort of pokes his stick in the ground and everything, looks down.
Laughter, madness.
Yeah.
It was proper Yoda from Empire and Jedi.
Yeah, he mocks Luke, and he sort of says, you remember how you were
Star.
and whatever, you stared into the sunset and all this kind of stuff. He basically says to him, "If you're going to burn that down, let me help you." And he uses lightning. Yoda summons lightning to burn this tree down. And the two of them then sit there and watch this fucking tree burn down.
Yeah. There were just moments in there.
And
the
Luke,
guy next to me was
he consoles him, doesn't he? Yeah, he consoles him, because he's like, it's really nice. It cuts through 30 years of absence, and it's basically like Luke looking back to his former friend.
I loved it. It was lovely. It was one of my favourite scenes to see.
It was lovely.
I thought they couldn't have brought Yoda in any better.
I can't remember much of his dialogue, actually.
It was just beautiful.
It was only like a 2-minute, 3-minute scene, but it was just really well done. And it wasn't a massive surprise, because I'd heard that Frank Oz had been spotted on the set, but I thought that was probably just because
polite invitation.
We'd have to come. Like Prince Harry and Prince William were shown around the set. Apparently, they played stormtroopers, but we don't know.
What a lovely scene. So at that point, I was wetting myself, and I was like, I'm done. I could walk out of the cinema and go, I'm happy, because that Yoda scene was just beautiful. Yeah. And then it goes back to the Rey and the Kylo bit. And you think, okay, well, how is she going to get out of this?
Snoke has turned around, he's now on the floor, and he's basically sat in his chair, and he's saying to Kylo Ren, do what you need to do now. Take your lightsaber, kill her. She's useless. She's too much Jedi in her. She's too much strength. She needs to die. We've got to kill her now, or whatever. Kylo's about to do it.
Yeah.
He's literally holding the blade to her neck. And with his other hand, he's doing something else. And then you see Snoke's chair.
And I thought,
and there's a
Snoke's gonna get out
lightsaber.
of this.
Luke's lightsaber, Rey's lightsaber, is rotating slowly on the chair. Snoke hasn't noticed this. And then it ignites, going right through Snoke's arm, chest,
Other
and
arm.
other arm. And then it moves forward. The whole lightsaber moves forwards. Snoke collapses into two halves on the floor.
And at that
dead,
point, I'm still
arms,
thinking,
legs everywhere.
he can't be dead.
And I was like, have they just killed off the equivalent of the Emperor halfway into the second movie?
Yeah.
That's Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke, like the ultimate villain.
The whole
has been
cinema
killed.
just like, what?
The guards step forwards,
Yeah.
and then literally
One of the
Rey
best scenes.
and Kylo Ren back to back,
Fighting.
taking everybody on themselves, and it's just the feeling of companionship and the feeling of heroism.
And for that moment, you're like, these two are a team. And
this is great. It's just like, this is wonderful. Everything's the revolution's happening now. It's fantastic. And you're also thinking in the back of your mind, where's this going now? And what's going to happen next? How can you? Where's the threat now? Everything's, they take out all these guards. Eventually, it's a very tense and long
you are
fight
like
sequence, and you're really like biting your nails because it's so violent and strong and powerful.
Well, you're like, okay, right. So Kylo's turned back to the good side. Rey's there with him. Who's the bad guy? Hux? Is that it?
Well, that's what you're thinking, isn't
And then
it?
you're thinking, oh, Luke must be the bad guy.
Well,
was.
you were whispering stuff to me saying, "Oh, it's going to be Luke. It's going to be Luke." And I was like, "I don't think so." But after having killed off all these guards, Rey then says, "We need to start doing this. We've got to save the Resistance, whatever." And Kylo's like, "No."
Join me.
Yeah, and it literally is like The Empire Strikes Back. He puts his hand out and says, like, together we can...
Forget the Jedi.
Forget the Jedi,
Sith.
forget the Sith, forget the Resistance, forget the First Order. We can do this ourselves and whatever. It's kind of like a proposal.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a moment where she's tempted and conflicted. But then they end up basically both using the Force to try and pull Luke's lightsaber
Towards each other.
to try and stop the other one from taking it. And they're pulling so furiously that the fucking thing literally
Explodes,
shears in half. The lightsaber splits in half, which is amazing.
Kyber
seeing
crystals
that.
still,
Kyber crystal everywhere, yeah. But the film just keeps on delivering more surprises because Rey does escape, makes it out, and Kylo Ren is discovered next to the body of cut up Supreme Leader Snoke by Hux. And Kylo Ren takes command. He basically says, "I'm now Supreme Leader," and like literally straight.
Yeah.
Don't get any ideas. Hux is like choking him.
He false chokes him.
I thought he was going to kill him. I thought he was going to kill him
since Vader.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some. What did you think of the bits where Luke was saying, doing throwbacks to the prequels, talking about Sidious, and he said about Sidious.
I never heard him say that.
He said, Darth Sidious overtook the Senate. You miss all the prequel stuff.
I did not hear the words Darth Sidious.
He said Darth
in this
Sidious.
movie.
He did say.
I didn't hear anything about the Senate.
He said.
All I heard was he said Darth Vader.
Yeah.
He said he basically said something like a Jedi Master trained Darth Vader, meaning Darth Sidious, and then Rey said, "But you you overthrew Darth Vader. You saw good in him. You converted him, or whatever." She knows all this stuff. It's like bedtime stories to her. And now here she is presented with this amazing man, and he's not what she expected at all. He's not what she expected at all. She is expecting this hero and this reluctant man who doesn't really want anything to do with this anymore. He's happy. He's gone there to die.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
His X-wing is under the water. You can see it there.
I'm there to die.
Yeah, he's literally... You're thinking to yourself, like, where does Luke come into this now? How is Luke going to redeem himself?
They escape to Crate. They're getting bombarded, and then
what we haven't really said is that the Resistance have really there's three different plots going on. You've got the kind of
Holdo saves them. Really, she turns out to be a hero. heroin.
For the resistance, yeah. She's getting all these little pods to escape, these little transports with everybody in the resistance on board, and she's left on this shuttle by a massive ship by herself, and she decides to heroically sacrifice herself. And she literally goes at full speed into this Dreadnought Star Destroyer and splits it in half. On board the Dreadnought Star Destroyer, of course, you've got the Rey and Kylo Ren Snoke fight going on, and you've also got Rose and Finn and DJ and BB-8.
Yeah.
They've gone aboard. They're basically there to sabotage the Star Destroyer.
And then Phasma turns up. What
They do get
pointless
caught, and it turns
character,
out
man.
that bloody DJ is a
Double-crosser.
traitor. He's double-crossed them. He's basically made a deal for all this money.
He doesn't care about the resistance. He doesn't care
we
about...
completely didn't see that coming.
No.
I never spotted him as a traitor. He obviously wasn't. He didn't go there with the intention of doing that. He changed his mind when he got there.
Yeah.
He got caught, and he's like, "I want to be on the side that's winning."
Yeah.
Phasma reappears, and I literally forgot she even existed. I completely forgot that character was even in the series.
She should have just died in the first one.
She turned up. She has a brief fight with Finn, and it ends with him giving her a bloody good whack on the head, and it breaks a little bit of her mask off. You see her eye.
Yeah.
She falls into flames, supposedly dead, but I think
If they bring her back,
she'll be back
for a
for
third
more.
time, what is the point? She does nothing. She adds nothing to the film.
Well, the survivors then all head to this planet called Crate, which is a former rebel base. It's very really kind of reinforced. It's got these enormous Hoth-style blast doors, and it's got these salt flaps.
Yeah.
You will have seen this in the trailer and stuff. I'm guessing you've already watched the film. And we end up with a setup for a huge ground battle, very similar to The Empire Strikes Back, involving these really old-fashioned hovercraft car things, these speeders, and there's so much comedy in that scene. Like Poe gets in this thing, and he puts his foot down, and it literally goes through and out the other side, and he's just saying this thing is falling apart. It's a rust bucket. These shitty old little bangers. They've got to go against these enormous walkers, and there's 12 of these bloody things.
I think the best bit for me, that whole battle thing was okay. It was filler, and it was the Millennium Falcon taking out all the TIE fighters.
Yeah,
flying
Chewie
off.
shows up and does some shooting, and so
Well,
Rey's in there as
with
well.
him,
Yeah,
which is great.
they've got together again, but we never saw how that happened.
No, she's escaped and obviously beaconed with him.
Yeah.
And, you can give and take all of that. But when Luke turns up, and at that point, you don't know.
In their moment of absolute, in their moment of absolute kind of hope, loss of hope, Luke Skywalker strides into this meeting.
Amazing get up, by the way.
And he looks younger.
Yeah.
He's had his hair cut.
Yeah.
He's just got colour in his beard again and whatever. He looks great. And you think, okay, he's back. Luke's back.
He's got a blue lightsaber, which I thought was weird. I don't know why he didn't use the green one.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it got destroyed in the flashback we didn't see. He gives C-3PO a wink,
Yeah, but we know,
which is really sweet.
We know Luke's lightsabers doesn't matter. He could have whatever colour lightsaber because he's not actually there.
Yeah.
But
So-
he chooses the blue one, which I thought was quite.
Luke strides out onto this battlefield, walks out in front of these walkers and Kylo Ren's shuttle, and Kylo Ren sees him and he says, "Open fire with everything we've got on that man. Take him out." And there's this ginormous barrage of destruction, explosions, and then the dust clears. Luke Skywalker walks forward, completely unscathed,
Dust
and
his
just
shoulder.
wipes
It's
some
brilliant.
dust off his shoulder. And Kylo Ren says, "Take me down there, I'm going to confront him." And they have this weird fight whereby he says, "If you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could possibly have."
He says, if you strike me down, I'll always be there.
Yeah, always be with you, like your father, like kind of a ghost, I suppose, or whatever. They have this kind of...
It was gorgeous. It was a beautiful shot.
Yeah, I mean, Kylo gives everything he's got, but whatever he does, he just cannot make contact or touch Luke. Luke's moving not like the Matrix, but he's just so fast, and he slides out the way, and he's using the mixture of the Force to move himself around, and it's wonderful seeing Luke fighting with such power, and you're thinking to yourself also, how the fuck did he just escape that bombardment?
Yeah.
Did he really just protect himself with the Force and whatever? Meanwhile, while this is all going on, Poe, realising what he's basically realizing this is a big diversion. Everybody's making it out the back door. They're all
Yeah.
finding this way out. This is basically
The foxes.
these little kind of crystally foxes that are in the rebel base with them that live there, and they're scurrying out, and they follow them, and they get to this wall of rocks.
Yeah.
Rey uses the Force from
She's
the
on the
outside,
other side.
yeah, to move all these rocks out of the way, which she jokes about because Luke says something like the Force isn't about just moving rocks around.
She does pretty well, mate, because
Yeah.
she lifts all of them.
Lifts them all, friends reunited, Finn hugs her and everything. It's lovely. There's meanwhile, Kylo Ren's giving his best at Luke, trying to kill him, and then Luke.
Well, he slices Luke in half, and everyone goes, Luke, no, he's dead.
Yeah, and I thought
Turns
he's
round.
vanished. He's vanished. No, he hasn't vanished. He's standing
still
there
and he's
completely
going, "Hang on
unharmed.
then." So then he walks up to Luke and then just stabs him straight in the
Chest with his
chest
sword.
again.
The guy goes through, but there's no physical change in Luke's appearance or anything like that. And then we cut to the island, and Luke is literally sat there cross-legged, floating, projecting himself mentally to Crate. He's there in spirit. He's not even there in person.
Which is an
And
incredible
it's just the
feat.
most incredible Chris. The cinema applauded, didn't
Yeah.
it? Everybody just started applauding and cheered. It was really, really wonderful. Such a turn. And he basically said to him, "See you around, kid." He's like, "I've just caused you
That was it.
distraction." And he disappeared, faded away. And then Luke's left at the top of this mountain.
exhausted.
He's absolutely, he's completely drained of all energy and power and everything like that. He's used everything he had. And he's there watching the two suns setting. The original score for the scene of him looking at the two suns on Tatooine comes back. And it's so pleasing.
Yeah.
And then the most graceful way possible, Luke Skywalker's cloak just falls gently to the rocks, and he's gone. He's become one with the Force.
He's a Force ghost.
He's
now.
gone, yeah. And the friends are reunited on the Millennium Falcon.
And Leia has outlived Han and Luke
Well,
physically.
the film ends with Leia alive in the Millennium Falcon. All the remaining rebels are on the Millennium Falcon. They're all
They're
together.
rebels.
Then there's one surprising addition. There's an extra scene right at the end, not after the credits or anything. This is just before the big titles. We go back to Canto Bight.
Yeah.
We see these children. They're playing with these little homemade toys they've made, and one child's telling the other in a weird language about the adventures of Luke Skywalker. He's saying, "I'm Luke Skywalker and whatever, and I'm here to protect." So basically, the stories are starting to get out there. And then this guy comes in and says, "Get on with your work and whatever." And this kid leaves. He goes to sweep up some leaves, and when he reaches for the broom comes to him because he's using the Force.
Oh, did he use the Force? I didn't see that.
The child used the Force.
Oh,
He
wow.
dragged it.
Yeah.
And then he walked out. He's only a little kid, and he basically looks into space and he sees this blue light go past. Presumably it's the Falcon in hyperspace or whatever. And it's just a little seed to say that there are kids out there like Rey.
Yeah.
Kids who, oh, by the way, Rey's parents are revealed. Turns out they were literally,
I'm not sure about that.
according to Kylo Ren, and Rey admits this too. She acknowledges it. Rey's parents are simply some people that sold her to slavery for
money,
drink,
yeah.
for booze, drug addiction or whatever. She was literally, everything she's told herself about them is completely false. She's convinced herself that they're coming back, and she has this big meaning. She has no meaning. She's just a gifted child who's neglected.
Yeah.
And that she's very much like those children at the end of the film. And I mean, there's so
You
many.
don't have to have special parents to be someone.
No. And again, the great thing about the way they killed off Snoke, so unsurprisingly, is that we won't have to know where that lightsaber came from. We won't have to know who Snoke is and where he was in the other films. He's not Darth Plagueis. He's none of that. Everyone who was saying that, you can fuck off because you're all wrong. You idiots. I told you that we wouldn't
Snoke
get
is
this.
pointless. Snoke.
The killing off Snoke, it felt like a couple of things in this movie were done to sort of correct some things that were done in The Force Awakens.
Well, I'll tell
Did
you
you
what.
not feel there was a little bit of that going on?
A lot of that, and it was done really well. But what I will say is this: Episode 9 has got a little problem.
Because Princess Leia's still alive.
Leia's alive. You got Rey, who clearly will face off with against Kylo Ren.
Who, by the way, is furious that they got away.
Yeah, and I think Ren. It's all about Ren being redeemed. He's the only Skywalker lineage.
Well,
left.
he's now in complete control of the First Order. He's got Hux as well. I'm sure their bickering will continue in the next film. But the First Order is being led now by Kylo Ren, who is a confused, frustrated guy with conflictions. He at one point in the film, he was so close to being a good guy again, and now he's right back where he was.
He's got Snoke's out of the picture. He's got complete power.
The way he looked at Snoke's chair after they killed him, and he saw that, and he was like, it was like lust in his eyes, wasn't it? It was like greed.
He's achieved what Vader didn't.
That's a good point.
Vader lusted to kill the Emperor and rule the galaxy, and never did it. Kylo's done it.
He defeated his master, but he's not trying to correct things. He wants to take control. He did what the Emperor did.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
He's overthrown his leader.
So Kylo's basically done what Emperor did.
Yeah.
He's now in control.
Yeah.
He's powerful. He's probably the most powerful man in terms of armory and weaponry in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. So I'd say in Episode 9 you've got...
Stop banging the table.
Sorry. You got Episode 9, you've got Rey versus Kylo.
Yeah.
One of them's got to die.
I reckon both will. I reckon it'll... Well, I don't... Who knows? It's fucking 2 years away.
I know.
And it's really exciting, by the way, seeing a film this soon.
So many questions open.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, I reckon it's not the last we'll see of Luke. He'll be back in some sort of ghostly form, and that'll be great. You know, in the early script for Return of the Jedi, the big ending was going to be that all the ghosts come back and they fight with the Emperor. They fight against the Emperor with Luke. They help him out.
I'll be honest.
And that would be cool. I mean, we may even see that happen.
Yoda can do something like lightning.
As a ghost.
As a ghost.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually making...
My God, that's a good point.
Do stuff. He can set a tree on fire as a ghost. Like, he can attack Kylo Ren if he wanted to.
Insane. That's it. Yeah, what an incredible new
revelation.
Idea. Yeah, amazing. So, you know, we're
still processing this film. It's mad.
There was so much little detail, and there was so much kind of emotional moments in that movie.
Right, let's break this down. Let's both give our
R2D2 meeting Luke again.
That was lovely. And
I literally got choked up. I was so sweet. And he plays him. He says, like, I'm not going back, R2. I can't come back. I'm not doing it. And then he starts playing him the Leia recording from A New Hope. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it was just so... He literally looks at her and you hear the theme. And there's a lovely moment where Luke meets Leia again.
That was lovely.
Although they are... That's the mental projection of Luke. You don't understand.
They're still there.
And the lovely like the brother and sister theme from Return of the Jedi that comes back, and it's sort of the moment where he tells her that his father's Luke Skywalker and their sister and brother. Okay. That music all returns.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions.
A little bit close.
I've got a couple of questions to wrap this up. One, actually, what was the worst scene for you? What didn't you like? What could you have left out?
It would have to be the Canto bike craziness.
Yeah.
When as much as I enjoyed Rose as a character, I felt that her escape with Rey was dragged out, and it was just all this wacky... Mm-hmm. It wasn't wacky, really, but they were galloping around on these horse things. They were literally charging through these casinos, and all chips going everywhere, and all these wacky aliens going, whoa, and stuff. And some of the aliens were a bit annoying. It was kind of almost a bit prequely.
Yeah, I agree.
That whole Canto bike place, I didn't really care for it.
Okay. For me, and I hate saying this, but that whole Leia scene, getting blown out into space and then coming back, it was a bit wacky. It was a bit too much.
It was too far-fetched.
That for me. Okay, who was your favourite character
in the movie?
In the film, who really who performed beyond?
It was just so good to see Luke Skywalker back after all these years, and to see so many sides to him. The dark side to him, the light side to him. I love the way that Disney misled us with those double posters where he was on the dark side and the light side. Yeah. There was also, it's speculation about, who is Snoke talking to in a hologram? Well, he doesn't talk to anybody in a hologram, so that was obviously something that... the Disney misled us on, or Lego misled us on. Everything you see in that trailer, you cannot predict how the film's going to go from that trailer. And I'm really, really glad that it was like that.
Yeah, I thought Adam
Everything that
Driver's
was in that trailer
performance
happened
was
in the
brilliant.
film as well, as far as I remember. There was nothing didn't go, oh, what happened to that scene, or
Yeah,
what happened to
yeah,
that
yeah,
shot?
yeah.
It was all there.
Very well edited trailers.
Yeah.
Adam Driver's performance was brilliant.
Way better than he was in the
It
first.
was fantastic. You really felt that you believed him.
You just you want him to be a good character again. You know how some villains you love them, like when Darth Vader's around, you fucking love to hate Darth Vader, don't you? But with Kylo Ren,
For me,
you feel sorry for the guy. You just want him to be himself.
the one thing I'll take away from this in terms of performance was Carrie Fisher. I'm not just saying this because she's dead and all this,
No.
but she grounded this film.
She's really the core, the heart of this movie.
When every time she was in the scene, I felt safe again. I felt, Star Wars, I'm back in Star Wars.
Yeah. And I was so surprised to find she was still alive at the end of the movie, because all the way through the film I'm thinking to myself, how are they going to get rid of her? How are they going to finish her off?
They've got to CGI her into 9.
They won't do. They've said they won't.
Well, it was too raw at the time.
I don't know how they're going to do it,
Mine's
but
gonna be changed.
that's a problem for J.J. Abrams to solve, and the story team at Lucasfilm. And no, we did not get a Han Solo trailer before the film started.
No.
We're going to have to wait and see for that one. I reckon that we're not going to see one.
What was your favourite, just the one scene that just made you just leap for joy? You left the cinema, just couldn't stop thinking about it.
Well, Yoda's reappearance was lovely,
Yeah.
but I kind of wouldn't expect anything less, really. The probably the team up of Rey and Kylo Ren against Supreme Leader Snoke. The surprise factor of it, and the just the satisfying. It was complete joy. It's a bit like that scene in. It's a bit like the scene in The Force Awakens where Poe and Finn escape the Star Destroyer, and you're like really rooting for them. And everybody was doing that. But I don't know if it's the confrontation between Luke at the end and.
Oh, it was so good. There's so many good bits in it. The mind boggles.
I don't know in the long term if it's a film you can watch again and again and again, though. Does it have that rewatchability?
Once you've watched it and all the twists and turns are out, no.
Because I tell you what, the first half hour or so of the movie,
was slow.
For the first hour of the film at least, we keep cutting back to these large resistance ships floating around in space, getting shot at. They're running out of fuel. They can't really go anywhere. Everybody doesn't know what's going on. Everybody's panicking. They think they're going to be blown up at any minute. Oh, we can't escape. Our transports don't have any weapons or shields or anything like that, and we're literally doomed. And it kept cutting back to that. And it was all sorts of bickering going on, and that was quite strange because usually in Star Wars films there's a lot of movement.
Yeah.
And it was literally the First Order sitting there, taking pot shots at them. Every time we go back to the scene, another ship is being destroyed. And seeing that level of sort of... It just got a little bit kind of like tiring, I thought, but it was necessary. It was just... it wasn't really like in Empire. You know how in Empire when the Falcon's always being chased, at least 1 minute they're in an asteroid field, and the next minute they're back out the asteroid field, and they're causing all these Star Destroyers to weasel around each other and whatever. There was none of that.
No.
You know what I mean? It was...
I think it's a good point about the rewatchability, because once you watched it once, you know what's coming. You're never going to get that again. Right?
Definitely.
So, I think the rewatchability, the payoff of the rewards will be the fight scenes, the lightsaber battles, the Luke Skywalker, and do you know what? When we miss Carrie Fisher again and again and again, you keep going back to this film for it.
Yeah, definitely. This is her finest performance as Leia. Without a doubt, she's finally the leader that we wanted.
Oh, big time.
Because she's the leader in the other films, but she's, I don't know.
Well,
she's a bit like a damsel in distress in the other films as well. But in this one, she's completely
she's
in control.
She's the boss.
Her relationship with Poe is great. I love how
that's fantastic.
There's a mutual respect, but it's like it's her son.
Yeah,
he's like a kind of gobby teenager, and she's like not afraid to slap him in the face.
I kind of felt like Poe's was almost like the son she never had. Do you know what I mean? That's how she.
Do you think Finn was used well in this movie?
I thought Finn was going to die.
Oh, I did too. There's a scene where he charges at a large cannon.
I think they struggled to use him, and they needed to use him, but
they sort of sent him off on this crazy adventure with Rose.
This is the problem going into the next film. There's no threat.
There's no threat.
There's no threat for all of those characters anymore.
Of course there is. There's First Order.
No,
it's
not
still out
really.
there.
Not really, because the First Order was always there.
Well, the big threat, mate, is that there's literally like 18 people left in Rebellion now.
Well,
That's
no
all there
okay,
is.
Okay, there's a scene in it where they're saying we've sent messages out to the galaxy.
Yeah, nobody's
No one's
responding.
responded.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of given up and gone. We'll take the First Order.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just take that. So it feels like the whole galaxy is going. Oh, we're doomed. Forget it. We'll just live under the First Order.
Right.
The rebellion had dwindled to about 18 people.
It's really enough people that you can fit inside the Falcon.
So
that's all that's left. It's mad, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of like it's not like it can't be like Jedi, because you're not going to have a massive.
No.
It's going to be a really.
Well, unless
personal...
everybody from the universe gets involved and everybody comes out in their numbers to help. It's there's some really interesting dilemmas in it as well. Like on the Canto Bight place, they're just everybody's drinking and playing, gambling and whatever. They've got so much money, no one really cares about what's going on in the world. We were saying, why would that be? Turns out all these people are rich from selling arms.
Yeah.
They've sold weapons and ships to both sides.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck. They're selling ships to the First Order, they're selling ships to the Resistance. They are literally making profit off intergalactic war. And that was interesting, seeing that there was these characters like that.
It rings true to...
And then DJ turns out to be one of those people too. He's basically making money off intergalactic war as well. He takes any chance he gets. He'll be back. He'll be back for a sequel.
I thought it was a great film. I thought it was a really good film. I thought... I don't know, man. It just... It like you said, it tied up a lot of loose... I don't know, a lot of loose script. Poor script writing from Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But it also opened up a hell of a lot of questions.
The porgs were used very slight.
Yeah.
They weren't really all over the place. There was quite a sweet scene where Chewie's about to bite into one. He's cooked one.
That's quite funny.
And all these porgs are just staring at him
One of
like
the porgs'
terrified.
lips are wobbling.
And then he kind of decides not to eat it. And when we go back on the Falcon, there's porgs everywhere. They're all like nesting in the like,
eating like the
in the chair and stuff. Yeah, there's great little jokes there. The bit which me and you creased ourselves. Snoke is giving. He's basically he's checking out Rey, seeing what she can do, how feisty she is, and he goes, literally says, "Such spunk." And we both looked at each other and just went, yes, because we just knew that is going on a t-shirt.
That's going on a t-shirt.
That is definitely going on a t-shirt.
Spunk.
That could be the new catchphrase of our show, Blah Wars. Such spunk. It's just, it was as if like, they put that in just for me and you, because we knew we'd go spunk. You know what I mean? And the your mum thing, or the
mate, it was
message for your mother.
Written for us in mine.
Oh, it's good. It's very strange hearing swearing in a Star Wars film, though, and it's very unusual seeing that level of intensity in a Star Wars film. But fucking hell, these films are wiping the floors with the prequels. They're going to have to rebuild them.
Big time. I mean,
you know what? There wasn't very much in that film actually that supports the prequels at all.
No.
Did you even?
Sidious got mentioned.
I swear to God, I never even heard that.
But I would place my mortgage on that.
Right.
But look, I think we're going to be talking about this film for another few weeks because we're still unpacking it.
Talking of unpacking,
go on.
Not Monday, but Christmas Day, we're releasing our Christmas special, which we're about to record now. So thanks for joining us for this Last Jedi special. We would love now to hear what you thought about The Last Jedi. I really hope that you watched it and you agreed with, you listened to this after you've seen it. We have basically been on lockdown on social media. We've not been replying to anybody. We've not been looking at our Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. Doors are open now. Everyone's welcome.
Go mad.
Go mad, all right?
Yeah.
So, mate, until next time.
Yeah.
Well, God, I don't know. I just don't know what we're going to do next, really. I feel like we need to see it again, but not necessarily immediately. I want it to rest for a bit.
Yeah.
Just can't believe.
It's mind-boggling. We need to process.
Go and see The Last Jedi. Do not let anyone spoil this. Actually, if you listen to this, you're fucked.
If you've listened to this, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you really have ruined it for yourself. Mate, till next time, I've been John Galantini.
It's UK, man.
Join us for the Christmas special. Until then, may the Force be with you.